to episode 11 of CostuMoms. Today we are going to talk all about our experience making patterns, trying to do patterns, and producing patterns, and how bad we are at it. But as always, I'm Amber.
Still Cait.
And we're really glad that you've joined in with us today, and I hope that you'll at least be entertained while we complain.
Isn't that what we do every week?
I think it might be.
What are we going to do tonight, Amber? Same thing we do every night. Complain.
But anyway, before we get onto our topic, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I told you earlier, I spent way too long in the Starbucks drive-thru because I was trapped. But the coffee at the end of it was delicious. The weather here has been really nice. Okay. It's been sunny and in the 70s because we're already in the spring here, and by the time April comes, it'll be like 3,000 degrees outside. So I'm enjoying it while it lasts.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But other than that, just working like Capricorn. So normal. How are you?
I don't know. There's I'm in the weird, my sleep pattern's been all messed up, and I don't know. I worked out for the first time in a long time last week, and I'm still sore, and I went to the chiropractor last week as well. Still sore. But I did get to see my bones, which was interesting.
Ooh, I love seeing my bones.
Yeah, they did an x-ray, so I've never been to a chiropractor outside of when I was pregnant. And of course they don't do x-rays when you're pregnant.
Right.
So they did the x-ray, and you can see everything in your body, including poop. It's very interesting. And when...
I have a story about that, I'll tell you later.
When it was all up on the screen, I could see my IUD and everything, but the thing that was glaring was my back. So I don't have scoliosis, she said. I have two major kinks in my back, either from previous injuries or just something got twisted and it's just grown that way now. So I've got one spot that goes like this, and then the other spot that goes like this.
Lovely.
And my tailbone is totally effed. Thank you,
babies.
Emma. She just pushed it everywhere. So, it was interesting to see all of that, but I'm still sore from the corrections that she did because that's the first time. And I'm still having scalp issues.
Yes.
So
I hate that. That's such a pain in the butt.
Yeah, and I just read something yesterday that it's actually a symptom, not a symptom. It can happen where psoriasis and eczema is triggered on your scalp after pregnancy.
Fun.
So I'm thinking that's what this is, because my hair isn't getting oily anymore. I could go a week, 2 weeks, and my hair won't get oily, and my scalp is just insanely dry, and it hurts, and it itches. So I'm trying to figure out what that is, but I'm, constantly digging at my scalp, so.
Well, didn't you make oatmeal in your hair the other day?
Oh my God. Yes.
Did that go okay? All the last I heard is you smelled like oatmeal.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't planning on sharing this, but I guess I can. I will share a picture.
Adorable.
So, if you ever try to do, I'm talking to you people at home, if you ever try to do an oatmeal scalp treatment, one of the things first is that you're supposed to use colloidal oatmeal. It's a specific type of oatmeal. I did not use that. I used regular oatmeal, and in the recipe it says to soak it. I thought, it's just so it mashes up easier. Well, wrong. It is because oatmeal absorbs a lot of liquid. I did not think about this. So, it says in the recipe, blend to desired consistency. Alright, so I decided. Okay, well, this is too watery. I want it to be more of a paste. So what do? I added more oatmeal to it and then blended it up, and it wasn't the right consistency. So I added more oatmeal and I blended it up, and it was okay. And I thought, well, I'll just go with this. It was still too liquidy. By the time that I walked from my kitchen to my bathroom, which is up a half flight of stairs, it had absorbed those tiny pieces that you couldn't see before, had absorbed all of the moisture and it was now a paste. So I thought, well, this is what it's supposed to do, right? They didn't say anything about this. So I put it on my scalp, and that was I have never had so much regret so quickly. I put it on there, and I thought, shoot. Well, I've already done it. So I might as well continue. And I put it on all of the front part of my scalp, and it took me 30 minutes to get out of my hair after I let it sit there, and it only kind of marginally helped. So, yeah. I'm so embarrassed that I've told you guys.
I think it is something that we can all relate to. Because many times I have done something and completely screwed it up. And it did not turn out as good as yours did. Like, it did kind of help.
It did. It did, but it was a lot of water. Like, so I am a person that feels very guilty whenever I contribute to using resources.
Oh, yeah.
So in my mind, as I'm washing this out, all I can think of is I'm using so much water. And I know that as a one single person in this world, me using 10 extra gallons of water or whatever it would be, to take a shower is not going to change the world. But I still feel bad about it. So
I feel that.
Anyway, the whole time I'm like, ah! And I can't know that it's all the way out because we don't have like a mirror in our shower.
Apparently people do.
My brother
know.
does, but
Yeah. But
he
like,
shaves in the shower. He shaves in the shower. That's why. Sorry.
That makes sense.
That's not a weird thing, I don't think. But yeah.
No, yesterday I was chopping up mushrooms and I didn't save the stems to like make broth out of, and I was like lamenting, and I was like telling my husband, I'm such a wasteful person. He's like, because of mushroom stems?
You guys could probably have a compost pile now.
We probably could, and then it would get like weevils or something. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what happens out there.
We
anyway.
have a composty turner thingy, so it keeps it kind of at least contained, and we've not had a raccoon in it yet.
So there's a pond behind my house, and there are many signs that say alligators, please avoid. So I don't know. Do alligators like compost? Do their friends like compost?
They could come up if you had a lot of wildlife in your backyard.
Well, so there's us. There's a fence. Thank goodness. There's a pond. There's forest, and there's a huge river and a swamp. So like, we're not far from the alligators and wildlife.
Okay.
So it could happen.
It could.
So
I'm sure you're probably fine though if you have a fence. But I have seen them scale fences before. Not to make you scared, but
I'm not really scared about the alligators so much. I'm scared about accidentally finding one in my yard.
Right.
Would be
like
a little
stumbling
alarming.
on it.
Yeah, that would be not great. But
although you're short enough, I don't think you would not see it.
Oh no, I would see it for sure.
Because like I'm thinking of like my husband who doesn't look at the ground when he's walking.
My husband doesn't either.
He would just like walk out there and be like, ooh.
Just trip
there's
up
an
an
alligator there.
Yeah, pretty much exactly what would happen.
But yeah.
So anyway,
yeah.
patterns. Patterns are fun.
Well, do you want to do a whip report first?
Yes.
Have you been working on anything lately?
I have been. I've been working on Italian camicia, apparently is the correct way to say it. Italian Renaissance shift. It's very floofy. I've done several of these, and it's always a marathon of sewing. But they're so satisfying in the end.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on. And then patterns.
Right. Yeah. Well, at least your camichas are very, very pretty, and I feel like people will take pictures of themselves just in them.
Yeah, so when I made Lauren's, I had to do the neckline twice because I had done it incorrectly.
Oh, no.
And it was the worst sewing experience I'd had in a while. But then she took pictures of it in Venice. I was like, it's all right.
Oh.
It was worth it.
Yeah, you have your good product photos.
Yeah, so it was totally fine.
Well, that's good. Yeah, my whip report is really, my brain is fried, and I have made 3 caps this week, and it's more than I've done in a long time when it comes to like sewing things.
Yeah.
But I just keep thinking about like the next things that I want to do, which are for my videos, and I have 3 videos filmed. Everything is filmed, and I just want to make the videos, but it takes time to edit them. And also, we're gearing up because I decided to copy you with the restocks at the beginning of the month. Excuse me.
It sneaks up on you.
And it does. Well, you really have to be thinking about it a month in advance. So like not only the month before, but really you should be thinking about it 2 months in advance to make sure you have all of the supplies for when you put together those kits or you do those things. So I'm juggling all that and just thinking, I want to make my new corset.
I want it to be now.
But I've got like 2 other projects that I have to finish before that, and also patterns. So, and that's why we decided to talk about patterns today, because we're both working on them, and we both are kind of various stages in the learning process of them. And I'm sure we'll talk about it again when we have other people on the show, but right now we're just going to kind of lament and explain and tell you guys kind of our experiences with them and why it's important to be patient with us. Because
that is a thing that happens a lot for me, and I know it happens for you, is people are like, oh, you've made this awesome thing. Where did you get the pattern? And then I tell them that I drafted it myself. Their immediate question after that is, where can I buy it? Or can I have it? Or something like that. And then, I may be planning to make it as a pattern that is released. I may not be. But it's like people want it, and they want it now.
Yeah. There's
And
definitely
I want to give it to you now. I do. I want you to have it. All of the patterns that I have going right now, I've been working on for way too long. And I understand that it's taking a really long time. The problem for me is getting it from paper to the computer. But it's just, I don't know. What's your experience with that whole demand thing?
You mean with people asking?
Yeah.
People ask me all the time. And part of me, because I keep things very close to heart, and I also don't like... So, I copy things because I don't have an imagination. And so, it's this weird thing. So, I am good at copying. I don't have an imagination. So, I want to look at a painting and recreate that thing. Well, there's a lot of people that aren't good at that. They're good at the other side of it, where they can just conjure up a thing and do it, and it's perfect and gorgeous. So for me, knowing that, the copying direct or, from extants or whatever is not everybody's cup of tea, that's what I do. And when people ask me, can I have the pattern, a part of me dies inside. Don't stop asking me. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. This is just me kind of going through my whole emotional process, because it actually is deeply emotional for me to make patterns. Seems weird, but bear with me. So, knowing that I've made a thing, I want it to be mine, and there's part of me that doesn't want to share it. Like, I'm going to be honest. Part of me does not want to share what I make. My fancy caps, for instance. Part of me is very afraid that if I make a thing, that somebody will then use all of the information that I have and then make a fortune doing the thing that I was good at. So that is a thing that does happen. It does happen, and I know that it will, but like that's the first thing when somebody asks me, can I have a pattern? Can you give me the shapes for the pattern? That's the first thing that I feel. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to be run out of business. But after I get over that initial scariness, and I've had to because so many people ask me, I'm developing things that are specifically for patterns that are easier shapes than, something that I would do for myself, because I have to also explain in a pattern how to do it. There are some things that are way easier to just do than explain. So, but there's definitely an urgency. Everybody asks, when I make something for my daughter and I post a picture of it, everyone assumes that I'm making a pattern for it. And that can get a little grating, but yeah, not everything that I make is going to be a pattern, guys. I don't have time for that. So, I don't know.
I think it's weird that we're like almost on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, as far as offering, like, you want to keep your babies, and I'm like, take my babies.
Right.
Take them away. But the problem is you actually know how to do patterning. Like, you learned it in school a little bit. I didn't. I know how to drape things, and I know how to make the shapes, but explaining to someone else how to do that thing is almost impossible for me. And that's where I get stuck. Like, when I let my housewife pattern out, I had to film myself doing it and write down what I did. Because writing, like, you take the shapes. You take the shapes, and you sew the shapes, and then you have a housewife. That's how my brain works.
Okay.
So for me, it's not so much I don't want to give you the thing. Please take the thing. I don't want to make it. But like, explaining to you how to do that is what always gets me stuck, which is why I have so many kids' patterns sitting in that drawer right there with no instructions.
Yeah. I almost enjoy my process with Leimomi and the collaborative side of things more than making patterns on my own.
Well, she's got that kind of brain where she's just like, this is how you do it. This is all the information you need, and I will tell you the information. She's very good at that. True.
Well, I think the difference, too, is that we, like she and I, decide what we're going to do, and then I make a pattern for it. Rather than I have things that I already have patterns everywhere in my studio for, that people also want to make and copy. Like, I don't know. It's something, it's just, it's different. But what's cool about it is that, like, all processes are different. My process is different than your process. My process with Leimomi is totally different than even my own. So it's just like it's really odd, but the main thing is it takes a long time to develop a pattern. But so like so people can better understand what goes into your process for the pattern and how early in the stages of making patterns are you? Because I think that everyone assumes that if you say that you can make a pattern, that you can just, it's done. And that, like, you already know all of the parts to doing it. But there's a huge learning curve.
Well, so I know all the parts to make it. I've already made it. I've done the thing. However, for me, it starts with draping it. Okay. And then getting it onto, taking the fabric draped shapes, moving into paper. And then I have to, if I'm being a good, like, costumer, I will mark it about where things go.
That's important.
A lot of the time I don't do that. So it's always a surprise later on. But like generally I know the shapes at this point, so I don't have to label every little thing. But you're supposed to like put notches and this is the seam allowance and do all the things. And so you get the fabric to the paper. And then you have a pattern. It's already done. You're ready to reuse it for that thing. But if you want to save that for later, or you want to make it smaller for a smaller person or bigger for another person, you have to like scale it up or scale it down, but you also have to digitize it. And then you have to write instructions, which, as I already said, are my worst nightmare.
They are hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one thing I didn't expect with making the patterns is how to do digital rendering of anything. I did not think about it because as you do, I put my patterns onto paper first. There's some people that draft directly on the computer. That is way too conceptual for me. There would be no way that you would have a usable pattern at the end of me trying to do that. So for me, after I've come up with the mock-up or whatever, I'll put it on paper, and then I've got a big grid board that I pin it to. I take a picture, like, try my best to get it like perfect so the grids aren't skewed, but then I put it on the computer, I trace it on the computer, and then from there there's all of the other parts, the scaling up, the notches, the
seam
allowances, and then you have to alter it sometimes after people have tested it, so then you have to go back at some point to redo that. And then with the instructions, in order for them to be easily understood, you have to do digital drawings of stitches, of seams of applications, and it's so hard, guys. It's so hard. I'm not a digital techie person. I can do it. Like, it's not so hard that I can't. But it took a long time for me to get to where, like, I remembered the shortcuts where, you know, I could just do it, which is where I'm at now. But it still takes a long time.
The digital drawings for the instructions are really hard for me. I can draw the stitches and sometimes the fabric, but if I have to draw my hand, that's not going to happen.
Right.
So, like, there are a lot of patterns out there where it's just a picture of the person making it. And, like, that's fine for digital, but people don't want to print out a bunch of pictures when they're, like...
Right, or colors.
Or, yeah, it's fine for... Well, it's not really fine for print because I don't want to print out a bunch of pictures either. So it's just kind of like, it does work, and it does get the job done, but it's a little bit cleaner and neater to have the digital drawings.
Right.
Which is why that's what I've been doing to minimal success.
It's a huge learning curve. It's really hard. And because I can paint, but I can't draw very well. I'm not very well practiced at it anymore. It's been years since I could just like, okay, I think I can draw this thing and kind of do it. But I'm also more of a copier.
Yeah.
So if I can see, okay, this is how it can be, then I'm more able to do it. But I have one weird seam application for this pattern that's now out to testers. And it's like a stacked pleat on a side seam. So with this, you kind of have an L shape of fabric and the long parts are seamed, but then the lateral part here is not, because it's being sandwiched together and pleated, and then you just kind of stay stitch to keep it in there. There's no digital drawing on the internet for me to reference, to be able to look at, to be like, oh, okay, I think I can look at this and get an idea of what I need to draw. Literally nothing. So I sat there for an hour figuring out, not even drawing it, figuring out how I was going to sketch it. Because it's just going from a physical thing to lines, and then using those lines to put on, man, I don't know what's going on here. And then putting those lines that you've sketched onto the computer is just, it's so hard.
It really is.
I'm very proud of how they look. I think that after I've taken the time to do it, that they look good, but it takes a while. So
Yeah.
that was a part that I wasn't expecting. Also, a lot of people want digital patterns instead of just printed ones. So having them in two formats takes time because you have to do the printing layouts. And
that's something I'm still trying to figure out how to do. I understand the concept. I've gotten it to the point where I've got the layout on my computer.
Okay.
But what I'm still figuring out is how to slice things up and make them fit so that when someone prints it at home, it's going to match up. And I know the theory, but I have not successfully figured it out. Luckily, most of my things are for kids, so they fit on one piece.
Right.
But when it's like this skirt or like something really long or really wide, I have to put it on two. It's just every step of the way, I find something else I don't know how to do.
Oh, yeah.
And we're teeny tiny businesses, so we can't just be like, I'm going to hire someone to do this.
Right.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
You guys would have all the patterns. You'd have a full range of children's historical clothing patterns for me if I could just not do the computer stuff.
Right.
If I could just drape it, we'd be in business.
Right,
sure.
And then just like...
Here you go. Here's my
shapes
shapes.
A little bit.
You fix it. You make this work. Yeah, it's a lot. And every time I think I'm done with the stays pattern, I remember something else I have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know how many hours you worked on it so far?
1,000. I don't know. Because I started it in the fall of September, or fall of 2018.
Okay.
So it's been off and on, and every time I get to something I don't know how to do, I'm like, forget it. So, like, I don't know. But this week alone, 25 hours?
Yeah. They it's so much like upfront time that I shouldn't say no one, that a lot of people don't realize that you have to do. And because we don't hire it out to people, it's a learning curve, and the process is just like, you can't do this step until you've done this step. So like there's a lot of things that are dependent on getting this done, getting this done, getting this done. Now I can do this. Now I can go back and fix this thing because I figured it out finally over on step 20, because, step 13 or whatever, I didn't have this piece that I needed to do at step 20. Yeah. So like it's a lot of juggling, and people ask, well, why are your patterns so expensive? And it's not because we don't know how to do it. It's because...
Well, for the record, my pattern is, the only one I have out is $4 right now. So I don't think anyone's saying that, but I feel like they will once the stays are done.
No matter what price they are, unless they're $1 or less, people will complain.
That is true.
That's what I've noticed. And when they're free, which I have seen happen with other people, there are other weird, like, complaints that pop up through the comments and whatnot.
People are weirdly more complainy, that's a word, when it is free.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like this weird sense of entitlement, but this person has created something for you to use for free. And now you're going to complain.
Right. And then there's not enough information. There's not enough diagrams. The seam allowance wasn't added or whatever. And it's like, well, this is a free thing. You don't have to use it.
I will say that the people who have taken my banyan diagram have been very nice about it.
Oh, that's good.
Because I tell them, I'm like, I will send this to you, but it is literally just a gridded pattern.
Okay.
So do with that what you will. And they've always been really nice about it. I've seen a lot of banyans made, and it makes me very happy.
I'm good.
But I definitely
still need to make one.
Yeah, I would like to make another one. They're so comfy.
Yeah.
But this is, well, go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was just going to continue the kind of thing with, the patterns that we make are a little bit different than some other historical pattern makers, because there are some people out there that actually take historical patterns that are already done and then they digitize them so it's easier for you to get a hold of rather than buying the original pattern. So that's a totally different ballgame, and I really hope that we're able to talk to those people later on about like their processes and whatnot, and their experience with the whole thing. But yeah, we do children's patterns more specifically, and like ladies' accessories. Yeah. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think the patterns that I'm planning to put out are basically children's stuff and undies and accessories. That's pretty much exactly it.
Yeah. If I do full-size women's garments, they're going to be with Lame-O-Me. I don't have much of an intention, unless it's like small, medium, large, like block sizing. I don't have much of an intention to do sized patterns, because sizing is another thing. You don't think about it being that like crazy, but I know that you're in that kind of hole right now.
Yeah. I'm in the grading up the stays pattern. I've got it for most of the sizes, but when it jumps to the 10, 11, kids change shape at that point.
Yeah.
And I'm almost like, do I need to get the stays that far? Can we just quit at 9? But I'd like to get it to 11. So
yeah, 11, 12 makes sense, because that's right before, that's right about the time that most girls are experiencing developmental changes.
Right, so they would need,
Yeah, so I've been asked quite a few times, like, are there any good teen stays out there, because they're typically more, there's a slight change in the bust to waist measurement, but not enough to make it a woman's pattern. So, like, I have no intentions of doing that.
I may do it when my kid is at that point and I have to draft her stays anyway.
Right.
But until I can actually, I don't know. I was about to say something that sounded really off the way I was phrasing it, so I'm just going to not. But until I have a person of that age that needs stays in front of me that I can measure, probably not going to happen. But that's kind of one of the things I want to do, though, is just like fill the gaps where there are no things.
Right. Yeah, because there's a lot that needs addressed within like the teens and younger. Sadly though, at least with my experience, and maybe it's because most of my stuff was launched during the pandemic and there aren't any events going on, there's not a whole lot of like sales moving.
Oh, that stinks.
With children's patterns. And it could just be that I have baby patterns. And, young moms don't have time, because I understand that.
Yeah.
But they're not big money makers. Also, it's not like they're flying off the shelves. So the ability to pay from sales of the previous pattern, to be able to pay for my time to work on the next pattern is very disparaged. Like it's just, the entitlement gets annoying, or in when people are saying, why aren't things happening sooner? Because there's only so much time, and I have kids that I'm trying to deal with myself. So like, pay me full time, and yeah, you'll get patterns often.
Well, so I think that's like a thing that just generally happens with creators though. Like American Duchess was like bombarded with people demanding vegan shoes, and then they sold like 6 of them.
Exactly.
And so now they still get messages or like comments all the time like, why don't you make vegan shoes? Which,
right.
By the way, I don't care if you're vegan, but that's just plastic.
It's plastic.
That's why they don't make them, because people demand the thing, but then when it's offered to them, they don't actually want it.
It's not an urgent buy for those people.
Yeah.
And I've learned that with classes too, that when people specifically ask for a very specific class, usually it's only because they want to take it. It's not because they have talked to lots of people that will also take it with them.
Yeah.
And I've been burnt a few times in offering classes like that, and then 2 people take them, but the time that goes into it is a lot more than those 2 people could ever pay in the class fees.
Right. Making a class is a lot.
Huh?
Like writing up a class or a workshop is a lot.
Oh, it's more than a pattern. Like it's amazing. It's amazing how in preparing stuff for people to learn, it takes a lot of time for us to learn all of the things that make it easy for those people to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And it's not just conjured up out of thin air. I don't know. I don't want to be like negative about the whole thing, but there are a lot of negative aspects of creating things like this.
Well, I mean, I think it's just,
So
there's a lot of negative things about being a creator in general, because I shared this comic the other day, I think it was yesterday, about like how, look at this amazing thing that I like to do. It is my hobby. Now I'm going to do it for money and hate it. Like that does happen. And I think both of us were having one of those weeks where it's kind of like, we do love this, but every once in a while it just gets to be a lot. And
yeah, and you want to quit.
It's kind of a bummer. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I have learned is that I'm actually really good at pattern making on the computer.
Yay! Good.
I'm not enjoying learning this, but once I understand something, I get it.
Okay.
And so I've been watching so many videos. I've been watching this adorable Vietnamese lady this morning teaching me how to do stuff. And she's amazing. Her videos have like 200 views. Like, not enough. She's doing a great job. So like,
yeah.
I try to watch people to follow what they're doing. That usually doesn't help. So I usually just have to click buttons and figure it out. But I'm getting there.
Well, good. Yeah, I'm really good at making the patterns and writing up the instructions. But for me, it's making sure that they're sent out to testers, because you have to include like the hours that the testers are actually working on these. I'm personally not going to put out a pattern, like actual pattern, unless people have tried it already.
Yeah.
Because I can't verify that my weird sentence structure translated to them. Because I talk weird. I've been told this since, I think, elementary school. Like.
But isn't that I think that's the one thing we both do hire out, though, is an editor.
Yes, but the editor is not the one writing out the instructions
that is true.
to begin with. They might play with the sentence structure, but it's not like they're the ones writing.
She saves me every time. I don't know about you, but what I hand her and what comes back to me are 2 very different things. And I tell her, I'm like, I will pay you what you need if you can make this make sense. And she does it, and she's amazing. And I will link her website down below because she's absolutely awesome, and she edits all the things.
Yeah. A pattern editor, that's another thing that I had no idea was even a thing.
I didn't know that
And
either.
I'm so glad that Aubrey contacted me about it, because I would not be as proud of my patterns if it weren't for the cleanup that she does with the turd that I give her.
Yeah.
And she just hands you back like this beautiful thing. And you're like, wow.
Yeah, I feel like I should say, if any of you out there bought one of my kits before 2020, I apologize for the hot mess. That was the instruction packet that came with your kit. It is better now. So there's that.
Yeah, it's 100% worth it to pay somebody to do it, but it does cost money.
It does.
And you have to have the whole pattern ready to go to send to said editor. And so, like, there's all these, like, checkpoints that you gotta get. And once you hit that checkpoint, then there's a waiting period.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, right now I'm in the testing period for the Norland frock, which, if you haven't noticed, I am taking for my kids' patterns all of the Jane Austen.
I hear it.
Do you hear that?
I do. I usually don't hear it, but I did that time.
They are vacuuming. And I'm sure you guys at home are hearing it right now.
I don't hear it now.
I do. So I'm going to just talk closer to this so we don't have to cut the whole thing out. But, so I'm in the testing stages right now with my Norland pattern, and my patterns right now for the kids, the names are all places in Jane Austen. So, like, the first one was Longbourn, this one is Norland. I'll probably continue until there aren't any more, and then we'll see what I do. Oh my gosh, it's so loud. I'm so annoyed. Hold on. We're gonna cut out for just a minute, please.
I don't know what just happened, but okay.
But yeah, it is so rewarding.
Yeah.
Like you said, to see your things being made.
And I've only had people make my freaking housewife kits. And even then,
so
I'm
cute.
like, people are making Star Wars ones. I'm just like, that made. So I can't even imagine, like, even when you and I had a couple other people try the stays, seeing them make just the test, I'm like, it brings me such joy.
It is wonderful. Seeing the Augusta stays and the Amalia jacket just come to life on other people, it really does make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
So, like, I know I've complained a lot, mostly because I've been in the weeds of it for the last, like, month and a half. This is why I look like this, guys. It's just, there's a lot of work that goes into it, but in the end, when you have a product that you're happy about and seeing other people make stuff with it, it really is rewarding.
Yeah, it is.
And knowing that so many people like what, like, came out of it is, like, the cherry on top. Like, when people are like, oh my gosh, I used your pattern, it was great, like, I didn't have any weird spots in it, you're just like, oh.
I'm actually about to use one of your patterns again.
Oh yeah?
What was it called? Longbourn? Yes, Longbourn.
Okay.
I got some fabric that has stripes with little teeny tiny bumblebees on it. Aww. So it looks historically accurate from afar, but then you get it close and it's adorable. So I'm gonna make the kid an Easter dress with your pattern with that.
Aww.
So
I can't wait to see it.
She's very excited.
Yeah, and I have some Regency patterns in the works in the beginning stages for Jane Austen Festival time. I have a whole year set out in front of me of what my patterns will be. So, like, when people ask, can you have this type of pattern? That's not happening for 2021. Maybe for 2022. But this year is kind of booked with what my plans are. So
I would like to just finish the patterns that I wanted to have for 2019.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Well, the good thing about it is once you get the the digital process down, it does cut off a lot of that learning time.
The
for
really,
next
really good
ones.
news is I have a drawer full of drafted patterns.
Right.
So now that I'm getting the digital part, it is going to go faster in theory.
Right.
There is that minor hiccup of the fact that I can't explain to anyone how to do things. But I'm figuring that out too. I might just literally make it and film myself and explain. Like, if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do.
Right. Oh, well, goodness. Making samples.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Oh, yeah, that's part of
another
it too.
thing on
You
top
have to
of
make
it.
a sample. I've got kids' days to make. And I'm trying to decide if I'm going to make a sample for each different view or just the main ones. Because that's honestly, I don't even know if it's only 4. Because, like, what if you want this part but not this part? And then you want to do this? So...
Right,
I guess I'll
figuring
just
out
do,
what
like,
combinations to do.
the main ones. And then there's the whole, like, we kind of briefly touched on it, but, like, the digital rendering of the thing when it's done. Like, you have to draw that bit too. So, for me, I'm a struggle bus with drawing because I am definitely a creative kind. I can make crap up. But if I have to draw an actual thing that's sitting right in front of me, it's not going to happen. My 7-year-old could probably do better than me.
You might need
I'll
to give that to her then.
I'll hire her to do the drawings. Yeah.
Here's some suckers.
I will pay you in candy. Yep.
Yeah, I still have to make my samples for the Norland. And I'm kind of at that spot too where it's like, do I make one for both of my kids because they're in like the different sizes? Or do I wait till the next pattern, which is like a baby-ish pattern? And because Emma is still a baby, even though she's the size of a 2-year-old.
Humongous.
Well, and that's another thing too. Like when I had Anne stayed consistently with whatever age she was. That was the size she was. So there was no question. Like, she's 9 months. Oh, 6 to 9 month clothes. That's the size range that she's in. Emma is not that way, but Emma is still a baby. Emma is wearing 2T. She is a year old. So, like, she would still be in baby clothes, historically.
Even though she's...
Because she's not walking yet.
Massive.
She's just giant. She's the tallest kid. Why? How did I produce this? I don't know.
Maybe she'll play volleyball one day.
Maybe. Not if she's as clumsy as I am.
Oh, well, there is that.
Anne is as clumsy as I am, but Anne is little, so at least if she falls, it's not very far. But yeah, so like, I'm excited to do the sample though, because it's gonna be so cute. I just got, the silk for Anne's petticoat, and, the petticoat and sash, and I'm deciding if I want to do like a figured or a patterned white fabric to go over top of it, or if I'll just use the B&T wool. But anyway.
Oh, I need to measure fabric for you, don't I? I forgot.
Yes.
That's not bad.
And send it to me when you get a chance. If you have enough.
Yeah, I think it's either 3/4 of a yard or a yard.
Okay. I'll probably need a yard because she's tall.
Yep.
But
giant baby.
anyway, but yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
It is a lot. But
And so like where you're at right now, I know you said that you're in the kind of the learning curve spot where you just want to throw in the towel.
yeah, so I almost threw my very fancy laptop across the room yesterday, so I took a break. Because I'm at the point where I've got one size completely done. So now I'm transferring all that weird stuff onto the other sizes. But I still have to scale up the size 10-11 for stays because it's every time I think I've got it, I measure it again and it's not quite right.
Yeah, isn't the sizing up thing weird?
It is odd because when I did it on paper, I just slashed and spread and it was a lot easier. But now because I'm scaling things like on the computer, it's like, I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah,
it would be really great if I could just type in a number and it would be that size.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, scaling up is a funky thing because, so for those of you that don't know the process, when you make a pattern, usually you draft it in one size, and then you can take that pattern and size it up or down as needed. So with specific sizing according to your chart, you not only when you scale it up have to make sure that the waist measurement is consistent with your size, with whatever scale that you use, because every clothing maker, like, you know, Old Navy to Walmart or whatever, their scales for their sizes might be slightly different. So when you've established yours, then you have to make sure that all of those measurements are consistent.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that you've made a thing for, like, a sample or a pattern for each one. And in the computer, it's extra weird because you can't slash and spread.
Right.
Like, it's not physical. You can't, like, do those things. And with kids, they're growing more up than they are out. So you can't just put in, like, 85% larger.
Yeah.
And then it becomes the size that you want. There's all sorts of things that you have to keep in mind.
Or like, and once you get to like size 10, 11, the rib cage expands a little bit more, and like the waist doesn't get as much bigger, and it just like, there's a lot of head tilting going on.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Right. So I'm about to run out of battery.
Well, I think we've complained enough for today.
We have complained a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have any closing statements?
I don't have a closing statement other than I really want to give you patterns. Thank you for being patient.
Yes, please be patient with us. We're working as hard as we can with the things that we have going on right now because we are running shops as well. As like the patterns are kind of an aside, like they're an extra part of running the shops, and we are working hard. Like there's a lot of plans.
Yeah, so there's that. But
yeah.
Thanks for being my buddy in all of this nonsense.
I know. Anytime I find something, I'm like, here's the link. Check this out.
Oh, speaking of which, we have an inspiration recommendation today, and that is.
Yes.
Did you want to talk about it?
You can.
Okay, so there's this magical place that apparently a lot of people don't know about called archive.org. And that is actually where I was able to find my 18th century patterns for my stay, where I started with my stays. It's from a book that is completely scanned in, and on that website, there's lots of stuff. There's like old manuals and old newspapers and old books. Basically anything that you can imagine from history that might have been scanned in. So just, if you're looking for something, go to archive.org, type it in the search box, and look for it. It might be there.
Yeah, they've got like digitized manuals of things. I found a crochet Edwardian vest that I have every intention of making, but it probably won't happen for a while. And I am so excited to make it because it's absolutely adorable and I don't knit. So
Yep.
I was like, crochet, yay!
Yay, crochet!
I can do that. But yeah, check it out, and we hope that our little talk gives you guys a little bit of insight into, you know, what we do and what we're trying to get out for you guys.
Yeah. We're not really mad.
No, not at all. I can complain about anything.
I try not to. But I do all the time anyway.
We'll just complain to each other, and we won't record at all.
Yeah, you guys missed like a whole hour that we didn't even turn the camera on. So anyway.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm about to die. It's beeping at me. So, all right, like and subscribe, hit the bell, all the things, and we will hopefully see you in 2 weeks.
See you next time.
On the same channel, because we're now
Yeah, we're not moving around anymore. We're not nearly as confusing. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.